THQ Nordic claims the controversial decision to yank Metro Exodus from Steam and launch it as a time exclusive on the Epic Games Store was made entirely by Koch Media, which owns the Metro game property. Although THQ Nordic owns both Koch Media and its publishing division Deep Silver, THQ Nordic explained the decision to publish Metro Exodus as a timed Epic Store exclusive was made entirely on Koch Media's side, as Metro is their intellectual property. Reads the tweet from THQ Nordic. They are a sister company of THQ Nordic Vienna, which is the reason why we can and will not comment on this matter. While the deal itself is notable, as being the second big-name title Epic has pushed from Steam in recent weeks, it's interesting to see Koch's parent company distance itself from the move. We do not want to categorically exclude the possibility of timed exclusives for any of our games in the future, THQ Nordic added. But speaking in the here and now, we definitely want to have the players choose the platform of their liking and make our portfolio available to as many outlets as possible. As for how the deal unfolded, Deep Silver chief executive Klemens Kundratitz explained the publisher wanted to take advantage of the Epic Games Store's generous annual share, which would see the company take an 88% revenue split, compared to the standard 70%. The folks over at Steam were not impressed, however, and although Metro Exodus will return to Valve's marketplace in February 2020, the company branded the deal unfair. We think the decision to remove the game is unfair to Steam customers, especially after a long pre-sale period, it wrote in an update on THGAME's Steam page. We apologize to Steam customers that were expecting it to be available for sale through the February 15th release date, but we were only recently informed of the decision and given limited time to let everyone know. Motoi Okamoto is the founder of the game developer Entersphere, which produced titles like Omicron of Health for PlayStation Vita, has also a Gamasutra blogger. But from 1999 to 2008, he participated in the development of some of Nintendo's best-loved and biggest-selling titles as a programmer and a script writer and game designer in Shigeru Miyamoto's Entertainment Analysis and Development AID department. During his decade at Nintendo, Okamoto had a hand in creating Pikmin, Super Mario 64 DS, Wii Play, and Wii Fit. With each new game, he was one of the first designers to explore the possibilities of mood input methods like the touchscreen, motion controls, and balance board. In this exclusive interview with Gamasutra, Okamoto speaks about his experiences at it, some of the design lessons he learned there, and some fascinating behind-the-scenes tales of working with the minds behind Mario. Remarks have been edited for space and clarity. My experience at Nintendo was a golden time in my game design life, and I am grateful to my old boss, the Grandmaster Miyamoto, and to my many colleagues. In Japan, major companies including Nintendo prefer to hire new graduates over mid-career workers. Those companies do not need a work-ready candidate, but a graduate rich in potential. This is because they believe that they should give new employees proper training on their own. This is the unique employment environment and industry culture of Japan. And Nintendo, probably even now, is an old-fashioned Japanese company. Let me explain the background. Since Nintendo was battling Sony's PlayStation, the company tried to increase the number of excellent new graduates with knowledge of mathematics and physics, a trend that continues today. As long as those new graduates had a solid knowledge of mathematics and physics, They did not necessarily need to know programming. In my case, fortunately, I had both the knowledge and 3D programming experience. In my university days, I worked as an intern at a game company called United Nations Entertainment, which was funded by a Nintendo joint venture called Marigul, and in the programming candidates who were assigned to it, the development department that Shigeru Miyamoto managed had to get trained in 3D programming. Sometimes this training would consist of learning to display and animate a 3D model of Mario. Some of us then participated in a project that it was advancing cloud JSYSTEM EAD managers thought that they should build a common development environment, including middleware, engines, and tools for all lead game titles, which included Mario and Zelda, so that they could be sure of completing these very important titles on schedule. At that time, other middleware like Renderware began to become available, but most Japanese game companies chose to build in-house engines and tools on their own. Eventually there were about 15 people working on JSYSTEM. When its development was almost complete, I started to spend some time researching new technologies, like shading. A designer who had seen the full effects in Rare as Star Fox Adventures came in and said to the in-house technology group, "We want to do that too. So can not you do it?" Fortunately, not. After the GameCube, Nintendo did not think about putting out high-performance game machines like PlayStation 3 RX 360. Knowing that, I decided to switch jobs from graphic programmer to full-time game designer. The performance of Wii was roughly twice that of GameCube, so we could keep using JSYSTEM up through The Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess. I do not know what Skyward Sword used. When the Nintendo DS came out, the JSYSTEM development team switched over to creating development environments for both first and third parties. My first impression after entering Nintendo was that the company was, surprisingly, a big traditional Japanese company. There were many elderly employees who had been working there before they had ever launched their first video game console. All employees had to submit a daily report on paper every day. In 1999, when each of us had a PC on our desk, even the software development staff wore a company uniform like the ones the workers were in the factory. Of course, I had known in advance that the company was old-fashioned, but when I actually experienced it, it was older-fashioned than I had imagined. But within that old-fashioned organization, the development studios pursued their own unique rationality, such as the development of JSYSTEM. A few years after I joined, our president Hiroshi Yamauchi stepped down in favor of the young president Satoru Iwata. He would dramatically reform the old Nintendo, analyzing the problems of the company one by one. First, he moved a part of it into a different department that was called Speed. That was the team that created development environments, and which also worked together with overseas game studios. In this way, he created an environment such that Miyamoto could concentrate on only his studio's titles. Second, he promoted personnel changes and information exchanges between departments in the company. Believe it or not, members of the departments that developed Game Boy Advance games did not know the technical detailed specifications of GameCube, and vice versa. I am not kidding. Like the great warlord Oda Nobunaga, Yamauchi wanted his vassals to compete with each other. Nintendo once had 3 hardware development departments plus it. Each of these 3 departments had its own game development team, and Yamauchi made the leaders of these departments compete with each other. This resulted in successes like the Nintendo Entertainment System and Game Boy. but the departments never shared information with each other. It occupied a special position in the company. If one of our game consoles did not sell well, the divisions would criticize it, saying that the failure was because it could not create a home-run hit piece of software. My old boss Miyamoto has continued to bear the responsibility of home-run hitter, especially since the death of the Nintendo 64. Iwata reformed many parts of Nintendo, but tried to utilize and activate the good old parts as well. This was a good decision. One of the reasons is that he was originally an employee of another company, and had not worked at Nintendo before. Old-fashioned Japanese firms trust and love the members who have worked there for many years.